In Desire2Learn's quiz tool, you can create several types of questions that require students to enter text responses that are auto-graded by Desire2Learn, comparing student responses with an answer key. Short answer and multiple short answer questions are distinct from fill-in-the-blank questions because students' responses do not complete a statement. Instead, students enter words, phrases, or short statements as responses to open-ended questions. Short answer questions require students to enter specific responses to questions or parts of a question. Whereas multiple short answer questions require students to enter multiple responses in any order that are graded by comparison with a set of possible answers. In Desire2Learn's quiz tool, it's a good idea to build questions within the question library, and from there, install the questions into individual quizzes. So in this video, all my demonstration questions have been built within a section stored in my question library. At its simplest, the short answer question is useful for a complete question that prompts students to supply an answer that is a word or a few words in length. Within the appropriate section in my question library, I'll click the blue New button. From the drop-down menu, I select Short Answer Question. In this example, I will create a simple question for a history quiz. I'll paste into the question text box my question. And I'll add a title so I can easily identify the question when I'm building quizzes. For the answer, I'll type in Germany and make sure that it is case sensitive because students should properly capitalize Germany. For the weight, I'll enter 100%, which is required to indicate that this is the one answer that would give students full credit. I really only need one row and perhaps 20 characters visible in the answer blank for students. The feedback box allows me to post a feedback message that will be visible to students when they view their graded exam. It's a good place to supply the correct answer. I click Save, and I've built a simple example of a short answer question. Desire2Learn gives me the option to very quickly preview the question and get an idea of what it'll look like to students on a quiz. Within a short answer question option, I can also create a multi-part question where students must supply answers to two or more related parts of the question. Again, I'll choose Short Answer Question from the blue New button drop-down menu. I'll add my prompt question to the question text box and do some quick edits just to make it appear a little nicer and clearer to students. I'll make this question worth 2 points since there's 2 parts to the question, and give it a title. Now, I need to add another blank, 2 answer blanks for 2 student responses. For these response blanks, I only need 1 row and about 20 characters apiece. And into each blank, I type the correct answer. I make each worth 50%, so the D2L recognizes that students need to supply both answers to get full credit on the question, but if they supply one answer correctly, they'll get at least half credit. And I'll make both case sensitive. Now, what if I decided that I wanted to include an alternative answer for partial credit? If students remembered these authors' last names but not their first, I'm willing to grant them half credit for each answer, or a quarter credit for the entire question. And so I'll add an answer possibility to each. And since these answers only represent a quarter of the question's total value, their weight should be 25% each. So altogether, a student could earn 0 points, a half a point, a full point, 1 1/2 points, or 2 points, depending on their response to this short answer question. And again, for question feedback, I'll supply the correct answers. I click Save, and I've created an example of a 2-part short answer question, which requires students to supply 2 responses, 1 for each blank. Multiple short answer questions are useful when you wish students to type in a number of responses graded using a common set of answers. But they can enter these responses in any order, and the set of possible correct answers can be larger than the number of responses you wish students to supply. Within a section in my question library, I click the blue New button, but this time I select Multi-Short Answer Question from the drop-down menu. As an example, I can ask students to name 4 countries that participated in the Warsaw Pact during the Cold War, besides the Soviet Union. Overall, this is 7 other countries that were members of the Warsaw Pact, so students can choose any 4 of the 7. I'll paste in my question text. I'll make the question worth 4 points, 1 for each answer. I'll add a title so I can easily identify the question when I'm building a quiz or quizzes. Since I want students to supply 4 answers, I'll say so under Input Boxes. One row and 40 columns should be more than enough even for the longest answer. Now all that I've done here concerns the answer blanks that students will see and use. The answers by which D2L will grade the question are next. By default, D2L gives me 3 possible answers, so I need to add another 4. And I'll enter the first possible answer as an example. For each answer, I'm going to set the weight at 25%, which reflects the fact that if students enter 4 of these 7, they will receive full credit for the question. And of course, these are names of countries, so I will make them case sensitive and require students to capitalize them. Then I will add and configure the remaining answers. So I have all of my possible answers entered and properly configured for the question to properly grade student responses. For the question feedback, I'll supply students with the correct answers that they will see only after they've taken the quiz and the quiz has been graded. Then I'll click Save, and this creates the question. And again, Desire to Learn gives me the option to quickly preview what the question will look like. In this screen, we can view the 3 questions I just created as a student would see them after Desire to Learn graded that student's responses. As a student, I can see the question, my answer, and if I click View Feedback, I can see the correct answer supplied by the instructor. Note that answer 1 for my 2-part short answer question is only half credit, making the total for the question 1.5 points out of a possible 2, because I did not include in my answer Rachel Carson's first name. For the multiple short answer question, I received 4 points, or full credit, for having supplied 4 countries out of a possible 7 that would have been correct.